So happy Sabbath. Who would like to open the discussion? Anybody?
Elaine, did you reach consensus here in this side of the world, in the U.S., as far as the Sunday law is concerned? Because I got lost in a few details of the presentation, and of course he didn't have too much enough time for me to expand on what I wanted to say, but I'm glad that instead of a waymark, he gave us a dispensation for the Sunday law, which it was one of my points, and that that the island of Malta is a dispensation, not a waymark. And so I wanted to hear from you. Another thing that I don't know if you noticed that parents and I mean the Quintus Maxim Fabius Maximus blood comes from 272 BC, not from the Diadochi wars, but from Roman um, the Roman battles that he fought in Italy, and I I don't know if you guys read. He said that we cannot use the 2520 to points like this. I just wanted to say that it is very, if it is coincidence or what do you think it is that when I use those two 2520 numbers, it leads me to two dates that are important dates in consideration right now. Like um, when you add the 126 to July 2nd, not July 1st, but July 2nd, it takes you to November 5.
Can I pause you just real quick?
Yes.
Okay. I can't, I struggle personally. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to simplify it to one thing at a time and say
Okay.
a whole bunch and then try to go back because but I have one question though to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you stated either last night or Wednesday. I think it
Uh-huh.
was last night. I might be wrong. That is it correct that you shared this with Elder Parmenter? I think that's
What?
what you said, right? Okay. And I was,
Oh, that I said what, Elaine? Say
no,
that again.
I thought I heard you say, and I wasn't sure. You shared what you shared in the West Coast that you also shared, and what you shared with us, that you shared that with Elder Parmenter as well about the
No,
dates.
no, not at all. I haven't had
Okay.
any contact with him at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wrong then.
Then what I was saying is that this this is something that it is gonna lead you to have some thoughts on it, because when you add the 126 and the 151 to that date, it takes you to two dates that um November 5th and November 30th. When you add the 126 and 151 to July 2nd, it takes you to November 5 and November 30. And so,
Question, Manuel.
yes,
Why July 2nd?
because you don't want to count July 1st twice, because it comes July 1st is the fulfillment of something before. And if you add the 126 on July, the 151 on July 2nd, I mean July 1st, as you said, is gonna take you to November 29, which is the first presentation on the Sunday law by Elder Parminder with us. So, and I found so much like, okay, is this providence? Or he said that we cannot use the 2520, but in the previous Sunday law, it was the 2520, the one that gave us 2014. And also the 2520 in the time of Ellen G. White was pretty much on the but I'm not gonna insist on that. I am satisfied. I wasn't waiting for Elder Parminder to give these presentations for me to settle on the issue of the Sunday law. The only thing that was bugging me is those 2 months in the same name together. You know, like Fabius, it has to do with election, and that happened in November. And Quintus is July, and it is given by July means elephant, which we know it represents the Republican Party. So it looks like everything is connected, but he says that what I don't quite understand, and maybe you guys did, is that if we have a dispensation for the Sunday law, is what did you understand? That it is going to be the beginning of the Sunday law, the whole year, or a point in 2024? That's what.
Let me go back to this real quick. It was the point that Elder Parminder made last week to help us remember that what Ellen White says about the time of the end. Is the time of the end a point or a period or both?
Yes, well, in this case, can you consider the two?
Oh, wait. Let's just take it one step at a time. So is the time of the end a point, a period, or both?
If it is both, how are you going to represent it? And on the line?
The way that Ellen White represents it, and actually she would say 1798 because we have created a new time of the end. She would say 1798. So the period of the time of the end is from 1798 to the second advent. And the point is when it began, which was 1798. But if you take it and put it in the Omega history, the point is 1989, and the period takes you all the way through to the second advent. I believe that's what he was saying. Does anybody else understand it that way? Is that the way what he was saying?
I
think so.
Okay.
So it's going to be 2024 period.
Well, 2024 is the year of elections. Yes, based on articles that have said that more than half of the world's population are participating in elections in 2024. But I'll ask this then. Is this waymark the period as well as the point? Because what you're just asking is this all of 2024? And there's no point? Or are you saying the point is the period?
No, because I'm asking what you'd understand. And if it is 2024, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
Well, then what are you saying, that this is all 2024? If this is the
no, you are saying that
you're saying this waymark is 2024. Is that what
you're? No, I'm asking you.
Oh, okay.
If it is the whole year, because if it is not, then there must be a point on that year that is going to have to stick out, like either November, some event in November, some event in July, but my what is bugging in my mind is why that name has both of the month included in the name. Like Quintus is July, and Julius is July.
Quintus is 5. Quintus is 5.
Yeah,
What you put after the 5, if you add 5th month, 5th dictator, 5th year, 5th president, but Quintus is 5.
Yes. Quintus is 5, which is July is the fifth month of the year. And that is when he is born. And he is the fifth of the 5 kids. But this is what I wanted him to clarify, but he didn't have the time to show it. If it is the whole year.
Let me just take that point right there. Mm-hmm. If the waymark is a whole year, it makes it a period. So with that thought, then the Sunday law as a point and a period, or is it a point, a date, and a period? Can it be both? Can Sunday law be a period and this be a period, Sunday law as well? Because this is the Sunday law period.
So yeah, if you put it right there, if you put it in the middle rather than put it on the line, yeah, that marks a dispensation, not a point on time.
This dispensation.
Yes. And yes. I've been saying that this is the island of Malta right there where you put the SL. But this is gonna mark the beginning here, and that is what we don't have.
So yet. let's something we reviewed. I think we reviewed this on Wednesday. Going back to some previous studies, I probably shared them. So if somebody remembers and can put it in the chat, tracing the history of Concord, France, I believe, 2020. I think it was France 2020. Tracing the history of Concord was the study, and the study just prior to that, part of the same camp meeting, was called Cause and Effect. Yeah, it was Wednesday when we talked about it. So she was making the point of cause and effect. She was making the point that a story, let's see, that this would be a story, a complete story, going through all the waymarks, and you have to thread the needle all the way through all these waymarks. The other point she was making is that each waymark, 1989, has a cause and effect. Does everybody remember that? You follow that?
Yes, I do.
So every waymark also has its own story. And that was the point she made, is that you have this whole story has to be able to thread through, but each waymark has a story. And this particular story, written down here, even though there were many prophetic marks there, one particular story pointed to time, gave us time. And that story was the Berlin Wall. And then the story in 2001, you had a cause and effect here, 1989, and this was straight from her study. You had a cause and effect. September 11th, when Hungary, the first crack in the wall, and then November 9, when the Berlin Wall came down. So it has its story that gives us time. Then you have September, or you have 2001, our next waymark. And the story, even though there were many events that could be incorporated to understand in here, you had the one theme that you had to follow, and that was Islam. And you had September 11th, Islam attacks. And she pointed out not to use here. And sorry, we'll just put east wind here. So the east wind, you have the east wind, and then November 9, you have the east wind restrained. And she pointed out to not go with, but to look at it as geography and as a country and where this happened. And this is where the Taliban was taken out of power. So you had a cause and you had an effect. When she got to 2016, what election was 2016? Who was running?
Ipsos.
It was Trump versus Hillary.
Trump versus Hillary. Then Trump wins, right? Well, sorry. And you have Trump wins. And you have a cause and effect. And going back to Quintus Fabius Maximus Gurgis, and taking Fabius as the vote anyways, because what Elder Parmenter, I believe, established, and anybody help me if I'm wrong, that he has established that this Sunday law is the Sunday law. We've already known from Elder Tess that the Sunday law is a symbol, right? So then it's identifying the symbol. If I understood correctly what he did, he identified the symbol, and that the Sunday law symbol for us would be vote. Is that correct? Is that a right interpretation?
Yeah, that's what I understood.
That's what I got.
Yes.
So Sunday.
I have a question. I need clarification.
Yes.
I had some distraction on my hand. Was he saying that he, meaning Elder Perminder, was he saying that he didn't believe, or he alluded to that voting wasn't the Sunday law? If you understood my question.
Oh, yeah. If I can do, hopefully I remember how he did it. He had agitation. I hope I do this right. If not, I'll grab my notes. Sunday law. Yeah, Sunday law. And he said, which one then would you mark as the Sunday law? Because the agitation, because he was using the spirit of prophecy, how the spirit of prophecy will use the same language here. And he also had close of probation. So close of probation language she'll use in the Sunday law dispensation and also in the agitation. So if that be the case, then you have Sunday laws in the agitation, and I'm going to write it as he wrote it. You have Sunday law 1, Sunday law 2. So you have these Sunday laws that take place here, and then you're going to have Sunday laws that take place here. And so which one, if it has to do with vote, because this is the spirit of prophecy, and the movement equals vote. Vote 1, vote 2, vote 3, vote 4, and then there's going to be a vote that is the maximum, most important. He said most important, and then he said maximum. So you have Sunday laws on this side, or votes. So he defined Sunday law in our dispensation, if it would be, I don't know if he said it the way that I think it in my head, and if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but the Sunday law equals vote, a symbol of vote. So you would have Sunday laws on both sides. And you have one Sunday law that's going to represent the mark. Not the mark of the beast, but yes, but the way mark itself. But if you place 2024 as the way mark, I don't understand how you could do that, because 2024 is a period.
No. The Sunday law that you mark over there in the dispensation, that is 2024, not a waymark.
You're talking about here?
The period from that point to the next one is 2024, the whole year.
So you're saying that the close of probation ends at the end of 2024?
No,
I might be
that's
misunderstanding, but you're saying this is 2024.
yeah. This see, this that was my problem, because if you have a waymark marked as Sunday law, that is a point in time.
But
But
doesn't the message have to arrive? And the message that arrived was elections, right? And so then that is opening up knowledge, increase of knowledge into what the Sunday law would be. Does that make sense, Manuel? It has
yes,
to
yes, yes.
arrive. The message has to arrive, right? And it has to be on a subject
I'm
or
on
a
the phone.
theme that you can thread all the way through.
Go. I'll go out in a minute. Oh, yeah. What Susan is saying is true. We have this Concord and Exeter in the middle of that dispensation right there. You saw what Elder Tess did when she marked shipwreck and close of probation as the endpoints of the Sunday law.
Say that again. Sorry.
That this period that Elder Tess in her presentation of the Alexandria, the ship of Alexandria, she, instead of giving us one way mark for the Sunday law, she put those 3 months at Malta as the whole dispensation for the Sunday law, and then the close of probation follows. So if that my thing is that if we are already, because I think that we are already in the Sunday law, but the message just arrived, so we have to find Concord, and I believe it is when everybody's gonna be like in accord, and then we're gonna have to have the loud cry before the close of probation. But if the Sunday law is the whole year, because I believe that, because 2014 was the whole year. We don't have a point, and a specific point in 2014 for the Sunday law, and so it has to, the logic is that if that happen in certain ways in two previous um, events, it has to follow the same rationale for the third event. And I believe that this time he brought a different model, because this time he showed us a dispensation for the Sunday law, which is like that you just did here.
The
Yes,
dispensation.
yeah, that's dispensation. But we're gonna have to wait for the increase of knowledge and the loud cry.
You mean you cannot define the point until you get to here and here?
No, we already said that is 2024. So it's like,
Well, I'm still confused. I'm still trying to understand when you say 2024, it sounds like you're saying this dispensation is all of 2024. That's what is anybody else hearing differently, or help me clear up to make sure I understand him
yeah,
correctly?
just maybe the other people that got the point clear in their minds is going to be able to help me here, because it's
Can't the period be 2024 and 2025, or actually You know, does it have to be just 2024, Manuel?
No, he said that the problem with that is that we are stretching out the agitation longer than we are already invading something that belongs to the next waymark.
Well, if the period is only 2024, that means January 1st, 2025, we're going to be in close of probation. Is that what you're saying?
No, it can't be.
Well, then the period has to go beyond 2024.
I mean, for the end of the Sunday law.
I don't remember him saying that the period was limited to a year. I don't remember him saying that. A period can be a period, you know, like a certain amount of time, which I don't think any of us really knows the time. I mean, the amount of time.
You mean a dispensation?
We
Yeah,
do
right.
know that each one of these waymarks was a point. Each one of these are a point. These were a point, and then they're a period. This one particular is this entire period according to the spirit of prophecy, the second act, but she would mark 1798.
Well, one thing he gave us with certainty that it hasn't happened yet, and that is the loud cry. So we haven't reached that point, but is he implying that maybe the increase of knowledge already happened? But I don't believe that, because this information just came from Elder Terry's presentation in the last time that one of the presentations that it got lost because they couldn't record it. Then she had a local presentation in Australia for the people in Australia, and then the first time that she puts this on to the public all over the world is on May 30th of this year, and the second time is on the camp meeting that just happened. So remember the midnight cry of Samuel Snow, that it comes in chunks, you know, Boston, Concord, Exeter. It has to have the same form over here.
It does, Boston, Concord, and Exeter.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But if I understand correctly, what you're saying is we're not going to know this point until Exeter. Is that what you're saying? We're not going to know this point.
We already said that the whole year we're going to make it a point. And from the last day of 2024, we're going to start this dispensation, because there's no other way. Victor says he did what?
He's responding to Victoria's question above it. Did you just say that you believe Elder Terry and not Elder Parminder?
No, what I say is that the message has to come Boston, Concord, Exeter. No, this message is not brought to us by Elder Parminder. It's brought to us by Elder Terry. Now we are trying to find out if there is a point on 2024, or if it is the whole year, because
let me open up to other people.
Okay.
When it comes to his question about is it a point or is it a period, has Elder Parminder defined that there is a point that marks the Sunday law waymark?
He says that there's a point and a period, but he hasn't defined that point.
Right. Well,
and he definitely did not define it as a year, because that can't be, a point is like a date where an event happened, and a period is a long distance thing, right?
Did he define it or did he not define it? He didn't say it. Did he define it? What he did was break down Quintus, Fabius, Maximus, Gurgis. Quintus meaning five, and he just said five. Quintus meaning five, because that is what it means. You can choose to put next to the five whatever you want if that's what you want to do. But you have to have rules and methodology as to what you bring after five. But if you follow Quintus meaning five, Fabius as his being, bringing you to vote, and maximum Gurgis as the maximum flood, then you have what he was stating here. You have a Sunday laws on this side of the agitation, Sunday laws on that side of the agitation, but which one is the mark? If I had to say which one is the mark, you would put, if for me, I would put Quintus, Fabius, Maximus, Gurgis
You see,
as this one. And so then that still means what is this one, which is here. Right?
you know,
Is that,
you know
is,
what?
is that, well, let me hear from other people first. Is that a fair assessment of what he said?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I did.
good.
I think so. Wouldn't you say Sunday law on this side of the agitation, Sunday law, you're saying Sunday law as in voting, right?
Yes,
So,
we're headed down here. Yeah, sorry.
so Sunday laws
Yeah, because
one,
he
Sunday
did the
laws
spirit of
two,
prophecy as Sunday law, and the
Sunday
movement
laws.
is now
Those were
defining it as
Sunday
vote.
laws. No, they're not Sunday, it's Sunday laws.
Right.
One,
Sunday,
Sunday
right.
laws
Sunday,
two.
right.
laws,
Sunday,
No,
laws
no,
that
no,
were
no.
put
Sorry,
into
my
place.
bad. I shouldn't have said plural. If that's what's confusing, I should
No,
have said
no, it
plural.
is supposed to be plural.
But
For the
well, there are Sunday laws plural in the
right,
agitation.
so as in laws, not as in the Sunday law that we're talking about.
No, because what he defined as a Sunday law, as Ellen White wrote in her time, that we as a movement, here we have here, the movement defines it as vote. So in the spirit of prophecy,
No, I
it's
think you
Sunday laws
misunderstood.
on each side. And on
Is it-
the movement, hold on one second. And in the movement, it's the symbol, or what we define Sunday law as vote. So in the movement, it's vote. So there's whatever there is, there's voting on this side, there's voting on this side, and there's the vote that is Quintus Fabius Maximus Gurgis. That's how I understood it.
It's not Sunday law as in quote Sunday law. It's Sunday laws. Those are Sunday laws that will be put into place, but according to Ellen White, Sunday laws that will be put into place, and those Sunday laws for us equal voting.
Voting.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not Sunday law, quote Sunday law, you know what I'm saying?
I have a thought to that too.
Yeah, I have a thought
What
to that
Christine
too.
just said.
Me too, Jackie. You go first.
All right. He did say that does this consist in the Sunday law, in this voting, which we know it means? Is it one singular event? No. He made that clear. That it's not one singular event. So then I wrote down two, his point two was QP, MG, and that is continuous, or if that's the right word I want to use, which I think Troy had mentioned that. If we go back on what he said here, I was in line with that thinking Troy has. Where is it?
Well, when he said that in my notes, what I wrote, because he made a statement about that shows that the movement has two different camps,
Yes.
is what he
Yes,
said.
he did.
So
I
one of
remember
them,
that.
so there's one camp that believes that it's, what was it, a sequence of events? You have it in your, I don't have it.
Yes, it's a one singular event.
One
I
event
wrote down.
or sequence of events.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
had
both.
singular and sequence both.
Well, that's my point I wanted to bring in when Christine was talking about and then you said I have a thought on that. So when Christine was mentioning there are Sunday laws that go in place before the Sunday law, right?
But we're
Yes, I
looking
would,
at
Down
votes.
there.
We're looking at
Just to
votes.
make sure we're all the same
yeah, that's where I'm
and
trying
that
to,
I'm making sense to everybody.
yeah,
You've
that
got
makes sense to
vote
me.
1, vote 2, vote 3, vote 4. You got Sunday law, Sunday law, Sunday law, Sunday.
Right, right.
So if we start with 2014 for a minute and just think when we didn't know what she meant, that all those events came out of that box of 2014, and the Sunday law would be like that it would be all of those kinds of events. Now, we go back a little bit, and I think of like the first, I'm trying to remember the first law. I think maybe it was Texas, but I guess maybe it had to do with the Supreme Court and abortion issues, right? Where we noticed state by state was beginning to slide in that moral direction, conservative moral direction. We saw those different laws go in about gender, right? We saw the book banning, and we saw this agitation and a lot of different events. Like the first time Penny posted an article in the Bible study, that one about where if you take them across the line, you could be penalized. It reminded me, for taking them to another state to have an abortion. It reminded me of 1850, right? And it reminded me of like, if you were to help a slave escape from one region to another, to a free state. And when she posted that first article, I was thinking, wow, that's like a Sunday law. Isn't that like a Sunday law? That sounds like a Sunday law. And Penny was like, yeah, that's a Sunday law. So what I'm thinking is there were those kind of laws, Sunday law, agitational laws that were beginning to be distributed in areas. And those were all agitational issues showing the pendulum was swinging to the conservative, moral conservative side, right? From liberal, you were seeing this swing of the pendulum. So
Can I ask a quick question? Can I ask a quick question?
Vote, motion. Go ahead.
Can I ask a quick question? So you're talking about actual laws rather than votes. Is that how I'm understanding that?
No, not yet, because those laws had to go through their own governmental system in the states. In order for them to make a law, it had to be passed through their state government system.
She's saying that the Sunday laws that are being passed right now are indicators, not
They were
not
agitations, right?
Yeah. It's
Yes.
not,
And
not
it's
equal to the
showing
vote.
the swing of the population, which way the population's mind is heading.
But I just want to ask, because I'm still unclear, are you connecting these laws in this period that create this swing? Are you connecting that to voting?
Well, it's going to come to the ultimate vote, but each of those laws had to pass some kind of process
Like
to
vote,
become
you
a
mean?
law.
Like vote, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I'm following. I just want to make
Okay,
sure that I'm following.
so when you have a cluster of opinions, let's say, you bring it to a motion, and so, right, that would be take it to the population. Let's see what the population says, right? Let's
Put it on
bring
the
it
ballot.
to a vote.
Put it on the ballot, yeah.
So the maximus vote would be the United States November 5th election. If they like the way that those conservative states were heading, then they're going to vote for Trump because he was behind those, and his people were behind those laws going into process. And if they're not behind the Trump and those kinds of moral enforcement laws, then they're going to vote liberal. But
Can I ask another question?
okay.
Can I ask another question? So, when you get to, no, you said November 5th. When you get to November 5th, what
Yeah.
I think Victoria also pointed out in the chat on the previous study, that we know that the November 5th awards in the vote, I guess, I don't know how you say that, the Republican Party is now have control of the House and the House and the Senate, right? So when they go and they come in with all their opinions and then they vote. How is the government going to vote with the way the institution is set up now, based on November 5?
Well, I was thinking also too, you have to bring in what the Supreme Court did when it gave the presidential um
I think he broke that down and showed that the president always had
immunity.
immunity.
Yes, but it shows all three branches of government broken.
Yes, because we know the Battle of Ipsus is that battle for the three branches of government.
Right.
So he had to win all three, and we know
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And then you have to, well, I thought the idea was to pin down the point that the Sunday law arrived.
Correct.
That was the point of all this. So for
Yes.
me, that was how I reasoned it out, that all those little laws that looked to me like Sunday laws at the time when they were coming through were kind of like 2014 when Elder Tess was showing us. It would be all these, the Sunday law would look like this, where it's not just one thing, meaning you had to have a sequence of different events that preceded, which caused the agitation, but you're going to eventually have to have a tipping point place that shows which way everything is going to move, right? Which brought me to the November 5. I hope I'm making sense. That's how
You
I
are, but
see
I just have
mine.
another question on it though. When you say like 2014 and Sunday laws, and you're talking about Sunday laws that precede it, what would, without using the word vote, and taking from the language that we've heard throughout the movement, when you say Sunday laws, what do you actually mean?
I'm not sure I know what you're trying for.
What's the theme that you thread through the whole story?
Oh, elections.
No. What's the theme?
You mean gender?
Yeah, keep going.
Equality?
Equality. The theme would be basically, would be equality through the whole thing, right?
Yes, and democracy is supposed to be about equality for all, but we can see that's broken.
So I just wanted to ask, when you're referring to the movement where he just showed it's voting, but you're talking about voting on these different things in Sunday laws, what would be the context of those, what you call Sunday laws in this movement, in our dispense?
I don't know how to I don't know how to answer what you're asking me. Sorry.
Does anybody else know what I'm trying to say and want to add input? Or I'll try to restate it. You're using the term Sunday law within the movement, where he just defined that Sunday law is how it's defined in the spirit of prophecy. So if you're going to use Sunday law, which he defined voting, I believe you're connecting voting on Sunday laws. So what would you define Sunday laws as that they are voting on?
You're talking about human equality? I'm afraid I'm losing what you're trying to get me to see or say.
Anybody else want to comment on that? I'm trying to get down to what you mean by when you say Sunday laws are voted on.
They're voting on human rights, aren't they?
That's how I see it. So I don't know that I mean, maybe that's because I remember at some point in time, I don't remember if it was Elder Tess or Elder Parminder that stated that we just leave Sunday law there as the phraseology, terminology, because that's what is easiest understood. But it almost seems like with what Susan's saying and what Elder Parminder showed as voting, then we have to really get down to if they're voting on Sunday laws, what are we defining Sunday laws as? Because he's defining Sunday law in the spirit of prophecy equals voting in the movement, but voting implies that you're voting on something. And I think that's what you're saying, right, Susan? Because you're voting on something.
Well, yeah, you're voting on equality and, you know, and the Sunday laws were all related to gender. The book bannings, right, were about banning LGBTQ language and your abortion laws, right, is gender related. And when you have this kind of democracy that we're in, it's like mob rule, kind of like, again, I go back to the Barabbas or Christ. The mob wanted the murderer and liar, but it was a democratic process, right? He brought it to the people. Which one do you want? This one or this one? They had to choose, they had to vote. But once you give people the empowerment of thinking that they voted for the winning team, because we're tribal in the United States. You got tribalism going on with, like, you know, your sports and how they root for this, and that got to be the winner mentality. And when they feel they're on the right side, you know, and you think about how we've been educated to understand that voting is a moral duty, they also feel that their vote is morally correct. Therefore, it gives them the right to persecute those who aren't going along with the morally correct majority ideal. That's what I'm seeing. And so you'll see individuals persecuting other individuals, you know. That's what I'm seeing. I could be wrong. I'm always open to people help straighten me out, because it's the best way I can think. I'm learning, you know.
We all. So I had a question. If we're, because he did ask us a question, and after, you know, we all have a consensus that the voting Sunday law means voting in our dispensation. So we got that. That's a sure thing. As far as the one event, the Quintus QFMG, I can't pronounce the names.
There you go.
Yeah, one event or sequence of events, and he put 1, 2, 3 underneath it. I think that was still in conversation. Like he opened it up. It was almost like a question. He asked us, you know, is it one event or is it a sequence of events? And I don't really remember him saying this is what it is. So I think he's opening that up for us to discuss and to figure it out for ourselves. And then he's going to continue it on. So that's a good thing for us to talk about. But he also said the voting, how does voting lead to persecution, or yeah, something like that. How does voting lead to persecution? And I think what Susan just explained was very good. And that, you know, obviously we're voting on human rights, which are going to ultimately cause the government to make laws that will allow them to persecute people. And so the you know, the persecution, the laws are in there somewhere. The voting leads to laws, leads to persecution.
Yes, and you have to understand it's the beginning of a very negative, bad mindset that is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And those that have made the incorrect, like Susan said, they'll get hostile by it like it's sports. That's totally correct. You can see that. People have killed, gone to ball games, been killed. So it's slowly progressing to a very negative mindset. That mindset will not reverse. It will keep getting worse and worse.
Yes, and another thought, the voting is not necessarily a just situation, or it's not, I don't know how to explain it, but people are voting. I remember I was reading a book and it was on the Constitution, and the founding fathers of the Constitution were very afraid or questionable about the masses voting. And the reason why is because they felt that at the time it was an agrarian society, that people were not knowledgeable. They were not educated. They were ignorant. And they were actually afraid that we give these people a voting, that things could go wrong, and that's why they did the Constitution and all that stuff. But in our voting, in our dispensation, the voting is sort of like that. Again, people are voting with no education, with no, sometimes not even common sense, because they're voting against their own
Right.
interests. There's cognitive dissonance. People they're not thinking. I mean, like, it's just, so the voting, yes, but why are people voting the way they vote? We don't know, because the minds are just not, it's cognitive dissonance on an epic level. Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
Jackie and David, or Kathy has her hand up.
I think
Okay,
Jackie was first, and then David.
Jackie was first, yeah.
okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Donna. That kind of opened up a little more clarity to me too. I think my question is more on what he said about the fall of democracy. And we know that the fall of democracy hasn't, it's just the beginning. And I wonder if that is, it's going to build up, right? I mean, anybody have any thoughts on that? Because democracy was voted, when they voted for Trump, people didn't even realize that they're giving away democracy, or they're defeating democracy. And it was probably already agitated in that area of democracy as well. As we're talking about Sunday law, they are connected in some way. Because when we lose the democracy, what do we lose? We lose the ability to defend equality and human rights of others. So my thought was that this is not yet fallen. It's also in progression. If anybody has any thought on that.
Let's
It's
go to,
progressing on the line.
okay, I don't know if it's David or Kathy.
It's Kathy.
Oh, Kathy, okay.
Hi. Sorry, we got in late because we were discussing it on our own, and a few back and forth in the East Coast Forum. But anyway, so we missed the beginning. Has it been decided? Somebody who, I don't know, it was before Jackie. Oh, I don't know if it was Don or Susan stated that what we're voting on is voting on laws as far as regarding gender equality. And I can't read, they said a statement, and it matters. I can't recall it though, of course, my brain isn't working. As if we could take away that from the study this morning. And I wish I could remember what it was, because I had a little bit of disagreement from that. But anyways, all to say is, it's about, did we determine that the Sunday law was not about laws? It was about voting? Is that what, I guess that's what it was, what I was thinking about. So that's the question. Was the takeaway from the meeting this morning with Parminder, well, actually it's this afternoon for us, but did we come to the conclusion that the Sunday law equals votes? Because I thought I saw that.
That's what I understood.
Oh yeah, it's right on the board. Sunday law equals votes.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
And that's so okay, that we the Sunday law isn't a law. So that's
Right.
what am I trying? That's the way Ellen White puts it. I can't think of the right word. That's the structure Ellen White gives us. Is that it's where do we come up with votes? That's what and I know, and I don't want to hear the name. I know the name that with the fava bean, but I'm just trying to understand if that's what we are saying is our dispensation. I don't get it. I guess that's all I have to say.
I put it up here because a few of you brought up the question, and if I please don't take it if I ignore Jackie or Kathy's question, because I got so many thoughts rolling through my own head. I'm trying to keep
That's
up.
right.
No, you're fine. I'm because the question comes up about the sequence. That was one of the things, the sequence. What Kathy's realizing, or now knowing that what he did define is that Sunday law and the spirit of prophecy in the movement is defined as vote. So it has to do with voting. And going back to what Elder Tess said, that each waymark, that the whole reform line has a story, tells a story, so you have to be able to thread the story. But Elder Tess also said understanding the nature of a waymark in cause and effect and tracing the history of Concord, that each waymark has its own story and that you have to have a cause and an effect in that story. So voting is Sunday law is a symbol that we take and we have now defined using QFMG to define this as voting. But what we want to find, the way I understand it, what we want to find is in what he did define anyways, is that agitation in the Sunday law, using a spirit of prophecy, that she uses the same language in the close of probation to discuss the Sunday law, and she uses the same language terminology of Sunday law to discuss the agitation. So came up with Sunday law. There are Sunday law 1, Sunday law 2, Sunday law 3, Sunday law 4, but which one is the mark, the most important? And so then the question came to, is it one event? Is Sunday law? We know that it's a point in a period. Is this one that would be the period? Is it one event or is it a sequence of events? So if it's one event, and he did say in that context that this is showing that there's two camps in the movement, because some are saying it's one event and some are saying it's a sequence of events. And what I was in my thinking in my head, if you're to say it's a sequence of events, then you would be perhaps saying back in January when the primaries begin and you got all the primaries, then you have the DNC, or I'm sorry, the RNC, then you have the DNC, then you have November 5th, then you have December, and I think it's 18 when the Electoral College counts. Then you have January, is it 6th? I don't know if they determined if it was 6th or 7th, where it's official, certified, I think. And then you have the inauguration. So is it a sequence or is it one event? It all pertains to voting. All of it is about voting.
Yes,
so you have
it's
voting
both.
going on.
That's
You
what I
have-
said. Isn't it both? It's a sequence of events, and it also culminates in one major event that we mark as the November 5th election. But it's a sequence of events that culminates into one event.
But you
Can't
still
it be both?
But what you're saying, if I'm following correctly, what you're saying is this point is this whole list of sequence of events.
Well, I don't like that model because I need the agitation before your Sunday law at the time of the end. That
But if
model
I'm
shows
following
Sunday.
what everybody, but if I'm following this sequence of events, this is referring to not the period, but the point. So the sequence of events, and if I follow Manuel, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Manuel, that Manuel is suggesting that the sequence of events is this point.
No, he said that Yeah, I suggested that, but he said no, it cannot be a sequence of events because he's referring to the boat star. that is going to be a point. Yes,
Yes.
an event.
But isn't the agitation a
But
sequence of
but
events?
the agitation is a sequence of events.
That's how I see it.
And then, I'm thinking that perhaps because elections happen all over the world this year, and that maybe, I don't know, I haven't done any research on that, that if there is going to be more elections before the year ends somewhere else. But for us, the most important of all the elections was November 5. And when I wanted to attach or merge July to November, he said no. No. He said no.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
So which one?
Yeah, he said I wanted to merge November and July for deriving this from the name of the Quintus and the fava beans, because the Quintus points to July and the other, but no, it
Quintus
is
is 5.
independent events.
Quintus is 5. So if you put 5 and then define it as July, if I follow you and what he said, if you take Quintus, which is 5, and you define 5 as July, but you also define this point as this date, then you're merging July with this date. I think that's what you, I want to make sure I follow that.
Yeah, no, but he said no.
He said no.
No.
Yeah, he did.
Then what I'm thinking is this, that the agitation doesn't end. It started in 2021, but it doesn't end at the end of 2024, but somewhere in 2024. So we cannot have the 2024, the complete year, as the waymark, but because if he doesn't want to put July in along with November, that means that July falls into the agitation that is not yet the event that we are discussing. Yes, that is not that yet. So right. July has to belong to the agitation.
Yeah, that's right. Now you're right, Manuel. That's how I see it. That was part of the agitation and kind of showed what was coming, that an overwhelming flood was coming.
Yes, Susan, and I like the analogy that you had for Barabbas and all that stuff before. You know what? This, Elaine, then it means that July cannot be a part of the Sunday law, but of the agitation, like in the last strokes, like the Exeter of the agitation, that the Exeter of the agitation had to have, like, because you said you have to connect that point, you have to thread a line. So July is like that, like the last straw on the agitation or the Exeter. And then November 5 has to be the voting. Because there is no other explanation, because you cannot put July and November together. So one has to belong to the previous dispensation.
You have two hands, Jackie and Donna, just to say.
Yeah, Jackie, go first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Manuel. I was referring back here to Troy's point and period. Can you explain that a little bit more thoroughly for what we've been talking about with
Are you asking me or
the Sunday law? Yeah. Yeah.
Me? What do you want
Yeah,
to know?
because I think Troy he put this in the chat and I was thinking the same thing. He's got a question mark, point and period.
What is a point? How do you define it? Is that what you mean?
Yes. How are you defining that on the line up above there?
The easiest way for me, and I don't know if there's probably other ways to say it, to understand it, is Ellen White using the spirit of prophecy. Ellen White describes the time of the end as both a point and a period, meaning it has an arrival, a point, and it takes place over a period. So this is
Okay.
the time of the end period, and this is the point at which it arrived. So this is the Sunday law point, it arrives, and this is the Sunday law period, takes you to the close of probation. Did that help?
Yes, that helps. And I hope that answered Troy's question if
Troy, did
that's
that
what he
answer your
was
question?
inferring anyway. Yeah,
If Troy's
because
able to put in the chat
he
whether
can
or not.
answer. Yeah. Yeah,
He
that
says
explains it well.
that he was actually following Susan's argument. So he was I guess supporting what Susan stated back when.
Yeah, it was in the
He was saying
chat.
the
I ask
same
for
thing.
everybody's
But he-
forgiveness, and I
It's okay,
I have to
Elaine.
try to keep them all in my head at the same time.
It was a chat conversation about what you were putting on the
Okay.
board.
Yeah,
Anyway, that answered my
I've outgrown my
question.
multitasking days. I totally outgrown my multitasking days, and I apologize.
Well,
So
I got that
if I
clear
ever offend
anyway.
anybody, please remember that.
As we grow older, we can't multitask anymore. Okay,
No.
Renee wanted to
I think
say,
it had an age limit on it, an expiration date.
yeah. Okay, Renee just wanted to say something.
That I just
Yes, Renee. Oh, thank you, Renee, because I know you had your hand up. Sorry.
I just think we're so blessed to be able to use our slow brains instead of our fast, make quick, wrong decisions. Now, if you go back to 1621, didn't too many people know the true history of Donald Trump? They heard a lot of stuff he did, a lot of stuff he didn't. So as he moved into the presidency, 16, 17, 18, 19, people started learning a lot of stuff.
Here.
Now, in this past 6 months, you heard handfuls and handfuls of Republicans that said they're not going to vote because they learned between 2016 and 2020. So what it was God showing mercy. Okay, you guys did a quick brain vote for Trump 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, but a lot of his bad laundry was aired. So what you find out that people, God said, I'm going to give you mercy. We're going to let the Democrats go in there so you can really get a full picture. Because when you vote again, it's going to be serious. Those that didn't know, they switched and changed. Then again, you find a whole bunch of people that said, no, we're going to go ahead and vote for him again. One thing you got to take in the picture. So they voted, so it was written in heaven. Now, if there's anybody that can come up with a statement that since Trump's is getting back in there again, what are all the good factors and good points and the uprising of America that's going to take place? I sure would like to know. You're going to see a decline of America as it stabilizes and they start doing way out things. You're going to start to see it go down. So what if it's the starting of Sunday law? I don't know. I'm going to listen to that. You guys got to work with that because I have no idea. But God showed mercy this last 4 years, but those that made a mistake and voted for Trump in 16. So he showed 4 years of mercy. Here is his laundry. Here is his bad deeds. He's being sued more than anybody in the country.
And then remember when Biden was elected, people really didn't like Biden, but he had a landslide win.
Yeah.
People they experienced Trump, then they had a landslide win for Biden, and they didn't really choose Biden because they liked Biden. They choose Biden because they didn't like Trump.
So now Trump has a very bad history of conspiracy theories and lies, and more conspiracy theories, and people are buying that. Like it said, so that wasn't the days of Noah, so shall it be in the end. Oh, there was a whole lot of brainwashed people that got washed out to sea at that time. Now, God says in the end, The loss will be of the sands of the seas. Forget trying to count all the sands of the seas. I want one person to take one handful and start counting.
Yeah.
Renee, just to summarize, this is what I've been saying forever, is when you go back to, I think it's First Samuel, when they ask for a king, that's what you're basically defining. They ask for a king. Trump can be marked back here at 1989.
Yes, exactly.
And as Elder Tess said, that we were on the verge of that transition from the sixth to the seventh kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
What prevented it was the king of the south, Putin, rises up. So now the United States was on the verge of being that sole superpower or the seventh head, but you've got the king of the south or Russia resurrected, and then you have the east win. So that hindered the process of the raising up of the king. So they're asking, and then in 2016, I don't know where you would mark this here or here, but the story, they're asking for a king because they wanted a king here. They wanted that, that's what they wanted to do, is be the king. And through this process of here, where you have his first election and he wins, you get to see who he is, as Renee was pointing out, you get to see, okay, this is the manner of a king. I'm going to show you the manner of a king. And what did they say here? Because they got to see, Samuel went out and told them all what the manner of the king would be. So then they live through it and they see that this is the manner of the king. And what did they choose here?
They chose the king again.
Chose the king.
And but this is even worse because, like Renee was saying, God gave them an opportunity to see who he was. Yeah. And then we had little
demonstration all through here to see the manner of the king. Yeah.
And then Joe Biden came in and did amazing things, which he'll never get credit for.
But they're amazing things to you, to me, to, you know what I mean? They're not amazing to the Republicans
who appreciate human rights and equality.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it became not about Trump, but about the ethos.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, it became about the ethos, freedom versus equality or human rights. And they chose this over human rights.
Chose to believe lies and propaganda, because there was massive propaganda funded and fueled by billionaires.
Fox News.
And they chose to believe them and not thinking about themselves, but believing in a king, I guess. And they went against their own interests, and now they will be suffering the consequences.
And not even choosing to use their slow mind and research the lies that were put out of there. They just fail brain dead to it.
I mean, one of the things to me that was the most ridiculous thing is when the unions, you know, the Teamsters not wanting to vote for Trump or all these Teamsters, you know, Joe Biden rescued the pensions. $36 billion he allocated to rescue the pensions that in Donald Trump's presidency was about to crush them. And they forgot all that. Mm-hmm. They said, oh no, the Teamsters, the very ones that voted for Trump, they got their pensions saved by Joe Biden. And he will never get that credit again. No one ever remembers anything that Joe Biden has done. And it's just, to me, it is absolutely incredible that you got your retirement saved. Of course, it's going to be crushed when Donald Trump goes in there. But you got your retirement saved by Joe Biden allocating $36 billion to them. And then they vote against him.
Tell them about this new deal that the unions just, now they're crying. Oh, what have you done?
Oh, yeah, it's just.
I got a question then. So this question's first to Manuel. Just a quick answer. Quick answer. If I understood Manuel, you believe that this star vote point is what?
November 5, and we have a second witness, the life of Paul, when Ellen G. White said that it happened, that the shipwreck happens in November by the name.
Okay, so let me ask, thank you for that. So let me ask this, is there anybody that, I want to ask it to try to make it easier. Is there anybody that believes different than November 5?
Are you asking us November 5 being the Sunday law? Because that's what's
Yeah,
more like.
this one, the point.
The star.
Well, I'm going to raise my hand. I don't believe that.
Who's that?
This is Kathy.
Oh, okay. What do you believe?
What do I believe? What? My whole beliefs, or specifically what do I believe
what
that
do you
star
believe
B to be?
the star vote, the main vote. Because if he said the how did he word it? The main
Maximum, like
Maximum,
Bobby
yeah.
is his name.
yeah.
Maximum
The main point, what did he said something, main point, and then he put Maximus under it. And I'm trying to remember how he said it.
So that would be the Maximus point.
He also called it V star.
Most important or maximum. Most important. The most important point. What he was saying is this would be the most important point. So where are you at, Kathy? With the most important point.
Hey, well, I can't really see your board because okay, I mean I can see the board. I can't see what are you pointing to because you have a star and what is written next to it up there,
Vote.
right?
Vote.
That star, okay, star vote. Okay.
Yeah, so you have voting in the agitation, you have voting after, and then you have one most important vote.
Okay, well that's
Where
where
you
I'm struggling with the fact that the Sunday law equals a vote because he laid out in the beginning Sunday law is a Sunday. The characteristics of the Sunday law is laws. Okay, that's what I got from the beginning of his Parmenter's talk today. That he laid out, y'all saw it, Sunday law, and then agitation is Sunday law, and post the Sunday law is Sunday law. And then it was brought up about the vote. And again, I would have to go back and find, so I got one title of, but where Tess, because I got a reference to where to look for Parmenter saying that the Sunday law was a vote, but I need to find a reference for Tess saying that.
Oh, he didn't say the Sunday law was a vote. He told us, in case you misunderstood our communication, he said that voting was our moral duty. He did presentations on that.
Okay, well, okay, because I'm looking for where, because it was brought up that both Tess and Parmenter have said that Sunday law was voting or an election, which would imply voting.
What I do remember Elder Tess saying is that Sunday law is a symbol.
Right.
And so from there, you have to determine the symbol. And I believe what he was doing was defining Sunday law as a symbol in art, because Sunday law is the way she phrased it in the Millerite history, in that history. And so the symbol, then we have to identify what the symbol is, and that comes from going to knowing what the theme is, which comes to freedom versus equality or human rights. And all these votes are going to, how do you say, all these votes are going to affect human rights.
Yeah, and the vote basically is voting for laws that are going that direction. If you can,
I mean, I see that. I see the vote being involved, and as far as the Sunday law being a symbol, which I understand, it's not a symbol. It's not saying there are going to be Sunday laws, as Adventism believes that a Sabbath Sunday issue. No, but the Sunday law is a symbol for laws. I mean, just because they use the same word, and that's how I messed something somewhere.
I think we all get there.
But that's
but the votes are going to determine the ethos, as she defined in the Vespers classes, of freedom versus equality or human rights. Voting is going to have an effect, positive or negative, on human rights.
Right,
And
and
then
that will,
see which side stands for human rights and which side doesn't, or who, who does and who doesn't.
and as Susan just said, and I'd say again, is that in order to get there, yes, you're voting on for or against human rights, because there are going to be laws that are going to be impacting. It's not going to be the vote directly making a law. Do you see what I'm
Can I
saying?
ask a question? Yeah, let me ask a question as you explain that. What's going back to what Susan said? I just want to put the thought out there because otherwise I'll lose it in my head. When it comes to voting, you're going to vote on people and also issues, but who's going to be? Oh, I don't know if this is right. I don't know how to say it. How to make the point, but are you talking about voting on people or voting on issues? Because when you get to this side, where we're at in this history now, these votes are are they gonna be about people or
I
about?
think you have to do principles and policy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm prepared. We're gonna be out of time.
Because we're voting on principle. What
But
principles do we stand on?
we're gonna
And
be
when
on
you
human
vote
rights or
on
this.
certain principles, then you're voting on people that stand
What
for certain principles. One more thing, and those people will enforce and write policies.
That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Yes, that's
Right?
kind of what I'm trying to say, that it's going to be about who's going to be in charge of it, of enforcing laws and such. But so is it people that are put in place? Because the people that put in place are now going to go to work in Congress and establish their laws. And those will be voted on. And we know that on this side of the Sunday law, he's got the trifecta. What are the odds that anything related to human rights is going to go through with the trifecta?
Okay, well, see, this is why we're all different. Because I didn't hear Parminder say trifecta today. It was Christine, I think, when explaining as of, November 5th, basically, he won the trifecta. Trump did. So that's why I said I got his discussion today to be more of trying to get us to understand why we understand what we understand, and we're not all understanding it the same way. So I lost my thought in going in that understanding business, but okay. So are you saying that we're in the Sunday law time period? Or is that what we as a collective group is saying, that we're in the Sunday law time period? Because you're saying November 5th, you've got to put him under the SL Sunday law. And because
what I'll go back to is what he said, that is it one event or is it a sequence of events, and determining that should help us determine what the point is, which the point will determine whether or not we're now in the period or dispensation of. And what he said was that, is it one event or is it a sequence of events? Because because of this, because some say it's one event, some say it's a sequence of events, he said there's two camps in the movement. So obviously both can't be right. So that's what I'm gathering.
So
I'm in a third camp.
Well, haven't we always said a point in a period? I mean, like all these have their point in periods.
I think we're confusing point in period, though. I think I don't know how. I mean,
to me, arrives at a point
because to try to say that to try to say that the point is a sequence of events, you're basically saying
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
no, but she's saying, I think her and I are saying the same thing.
And then a sequence of events, because that would be what Kathy's saying. A point and a period.
A point followed by a period.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's my question. You're putting Trump under Sunday law, and I'm taking that as to be the Sunday law.
And when did that happen?
You all are saying it, or has happened in November, on November 5th. I don't see that yet. I may
When
be
did
a
you
veteran,
get
but I
the
don't.
mark in your forehead or hand? Voting, you do either by hand, and in countries that don't vote, it's in their mind. They've already made a decision of which way they want to go.
So my question, and I could have heard all wrong, but I could have sworn he said that we're in the agitation period early on in the discussion today. And I will have to go listen to it to see if he didn't say that, but I thought he said
the agitation precedes the Sunday law period. So whatever this is, the agitation is, and he a long time ago defined the agitation at Panium, that Panium began, and that would be January 2021, began the agitation. And then add to that what Elder Tess said back in 2019 and 2020, is that the agitation, this goes back to the story you have to be able to thread, the agitation does not happen in a vacuum.
Right.
There are events that lead to it.
Mhm.
So whatever the agitation looks like vote 1, vote 2, vote 3, vote 4, whatever the agitation looks like, there is a point where it's the election, the vote, that you now begin the next dispensation. That's the way I understand it.
But we're not agitating after the Sunday law. There's still Sunday laws being passed, but we're not. And the other thing I understood, but maybe there's the internal and external as far as agitation goes. Because all Ellen White's agitation is, I took it to be directed at the church to agitate. But again, that could be internal, external, and we're not looking at Ellen White, what she has to say on that.
If you take that thought with how did the world get prepared for how did the world get prepared for this event? Through us?
No, not at all.
Right. So all these events all along this line, that it was the world that was getting these events while we get the prophetic view, the internal prophetic view. So the world was prepared by the external events. And now what the world has, and I think she marked it back in here, and I might be wrong, but where you start to bring together the hate and the love and side by side for everybody to see.
Okay, so just now while you were speaking, Victoria put a comment up that we're no longer in the agitation.
Correct. What Victoria is saying, correct me if I'm wrong.
See, I thought you just said a little bit, that we are in the agitations. Okay, never mind. No, you didn't say. Well, yes, you did. That's how I understood you were saying.
Did I say that? If I said that, that's not how I meant it.
I could have took it wrong. I could have took it completely wrong. So don't.
Just that the agitation ends at the Sunday law. So then are we in the Sunday law or are we not? Because the agitation ends. It doesn't mean you're not going to have, because this is the little time of trouble, right?
Yeah.
So you have agitation and then you have the little time of trouble. And then you have, I spelled that wrong. And then you have Jacob's time of trouble. That's how I understand it. And is that correct?
That's the way I understand it.
Yes, that's correct.
So whatever you define this point as, that's when the agitation ends. And Victoria is saying we're no longer in the agitation.
Right.
Meaning we've already crossed this point. That's what you're saying, right, Victoria? That we've crossed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that's what I understood her just saying. It's just that I guess I misunderstood as we've talked here. So
I know I can confuse my own self very easily.
I know, and I probably did that to me. So I will I will yield the floor to you.
It's good to hear you, Kathy. It's really good to hear you.
It is very, very good to hear you.
Oh, well, thank you. But anyways, okay. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
I'll keep listening.
Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. I have one today, sort of.
Oh, it's
anyway.
great.
Thank you.
So just go back to making this point here. So, okay, so I want to go back real quick. Manual has come to this point being November 5. That this is November 5. And Kathy's still not sure. Was there anybody else that sees it different than November 5? The whole exercise is to help us all be able to come to see. I'm going to assume the silence in audio and chat that everybody is agreeing, and Kathy's still working on it, and that's okay, that it's November 5. So then we'll close off with a thought, two thoughts. Going back to this story here, that the reform line has a story that has to be thread through. And Elder Tess also said that each waymark has its own story. And we walked through 1989 and 2001, but I don't think we completed when we got to here. We started to get to here. And this is going to be a point that she made, Elder Tess made, and also combined with a point that Elder Parmenter made. That 2016 election, which on this line, the line of the priest, was a little waymark, right? 2016. And this was 18. So this election, Elder Tess defined the cause and effect, because the whole two presentations was about the cause and effect of each waymark. And the cause and effect, the cause of the 2016 election, when you would look at human rights versus misogyny, sexism, homophobia, I had something else in my head there.
Racism.
Races. Yeah, I had something else to kind of summarize it all. But they were, so you have human rights or inequality, and the people. Well, the electoral vote gave you Donald Trump. So you had the election, which was actually November 8th, but she put November 9. Anybody remember why she put November 9?
Wasn't it after midnight that November 9 that he won actually? They voted on November 8, but it was
right. So it wasn't what do they call it, announced or what have you until November 9, which is interesting too, because you've got the November 9, 2019 date, and you have November 9 here, you have November 9 here, you have November 9 here. So on November 9, you had the general election, is that what they call it? And then the December 19 was the Electoral College. And these are the cause and effect that she identified for this election, for this waymark. And also what Elder Parmenter pointed out, and he put this in the media broadcast, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was in the media broadcast, that when did the Republicans, because he was announcing that the Republicans have the trifecta, and then maybe he put it in as a question, when did they first have the trifecta? And that was here. Because from 2017 to 2018, midterm elections, whenever the midterm, yeah. So for two years, they had the trifecta. So what would you put there?
Elaine?
Do you have the date for this year electoral college decision on, because in this here you have December 19th. Do you have a date for this year for that to happen?
What are you putting as this one?
No, that if you know the date in December, the
I think it's the 18th, but I don't. Maybe it's always the 19th.
Oh no, if that is the case, that the numbers are like, wow, it's incredible, because when I'm playing with these numbers, because you can't do, if it is not allowed, it's a different thing, but it is it is amazing because I get December 17, a date that I don't know what's going to happen. But if that is the case, man, that is just going to be right on the money.
So what is this?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, okay. You guys, there's 17 here listed as participants, but I know that there's more. My reasoning for November 5 alone is because Elder Parminder discouraged me from bundle it to July. So since we have to detach July, November 5 has to stand alone. And July is going to be like the Exeter or the formalization of the agitation. And then November 5 is going to be the arrival of the Sunday law. And the next two B's on the right are going to be Concord and Exeter, which I believe is going to come very soon. But I think that I don't know who of you are fine.
Are you saying that this doesn't have a cause and effect?
No, I'm not talking about cause and effect.
That's a question that I'm asking. That's the question that I'm asking. Following the storyline that Elder Tess gave us and bringing that together with what Elder Parmenter is saying, the storyline that she gave us is that each waymark has its own story.
Oh yeah, in terms of that, when it comes to cause and effect, yes, I'm saying July is going to be the cause, and November 5 is going to be the effect.
But here's the deal. This is the point. If that's the point, that's the waymark, that's the point. According to what she says back here, each waymark itself, each point has a cause and effect. An action that has a reaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my question is, do you agree that November 5 is the arrival of the Sunday law? I'm asking this to everybody because it is kind of sound conclusion. And the reason why I'm kind 100% sure is because Elder Parminder discouraged me from putting those two waymark, make one single waymark of the July and November. He insists that they have to be separate events. So, and what is the next explanation? The conclusion is that November 5 stands alone.
We can leave it at that for now.
I don't hear nobody.
To give to Susan real quick, what Victoria's trying to explain is this is the increase of knowledge, and this is the formalization.
Oh, you saw that. Okay, hold on. I gotta
I'm trying. I'm trying to keep up, but that's why I sometimes lose people. I can't do
Can you do that again? Because I had to brighten my screen. It went dark. You know how it'll adjust?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So you know on our lines are 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waymarks.
On the main line, the 144,000 line.
And so on the 144,000 line, the two little waymarks between these two big waymarks, 2019 and 2021. So 2019 for this dispensation from 2001 to Sunday law, 2019 was the increase of knowledge, 2021 was the formalization, and that began the agitation.
Does that formalization have is it a year or a day?
My understanding is January 6, 2021.
Yeah, that's what I put it at.
Formalization.
But I was thinking it as a new dispensation in my mind again for a second, and I was saying increase in knowledge from 2021 to Sunday law.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't need good. At least I'm not completely out to lunch.
No, and that's what threw me off with some of the other studies that were putting those little waymarks in there, because there aren't necessarily those little waymarks. If you're looking down here on a fractal line, you have those little waymarks, but yeah, so I'm not prepared to go there.
That's okay. You cleared up the misunderstanding. That's what's important.
So we'll leave this left the way that it is. And I just wanted to add one other thing that we can't go into. We'll have to maybe try to go into it on Wednesday, maybe if anybody wants to. Is 2024 is the period of elections. We all know that. But what else happens at the Sunday Law? Major event that happens at the Sunday Law.
The death of the king of the South.
And what are we seeing with the King of the South?
Death. Yep.
Right here in the
family
same
fleeing. Russia
right here in the
can't
same
help
time period.
them. Yep.
So I will share a video. We're not going to watch it. I'll share it in the chat. I think I have it open though. I'll just share it in the chat and you can grab it from the chat. And there are plenty of others. People have been posting articles in the Bible study forum that are good articles on it. And this was a video that I ran across a few days ago. Actually, it's been sitting waiting for me to watch for like a week. I saved it and opened all this time on my phone. And so I finally listened. I've listened to it in parts. It's only 30 minutes long. It shouldn't take that long. For whatever reason, I was having a hard time getting to it. But it's Bill Browder and Vladimir Kara-Murza discussing Putin has failed. We must prepare for the Kremlin's collapse. And if everybody remembers Bill Browder, he's the one, and also this Vladimir that had that are the ones that got the Magnitsky Act passed. And Vladimir, I don't remember his full name, he was actually one of the Putin's prisoners, and one that just got out on this recent prisoner exchange. And so, anyways, that's them discussing. But the only thing I saw in that was he doesn't seem to understand, Vladimir doesn't seem to understand what's going on in the USA. Donna said she watched it. Victoria watched it. Is that what you both got out of that? He doesn't seem to understand the USA.
Well, yeah. Well, he believes that there's still the possibility that democracy could be possible in Russia. That was one thing that I was picking up, that I don't believe that that's going to be possible. But
Yeah.
and that's definitely him not recognizing the events happening in the USA.
Yeah, that's what I caught out of it. That's why I was kind of holding back, because I wanted to watch it where I could kind of pay more attention to it. But it'll be good for discussion for those that want to join us on Wednesday.
Karamoza has always felt that way, that democracy is possible. He has an incredible conviction, even through all what he has gone through. He still thinks that Russia can become a democratic state.
Yeah, so but we'll go into some of that on. So we have, I think we're mostly in agreement November 5th. There's still some that are working on it, and we can continue to discuss and prayerfully we can all arrive at wherever the right place is, that we all arrive at the right place. And then we can also say that the King of the South is dead as a superpower. Troy, go ahead. And Christine, real quick, thank you for all your patience with me, because I do struggle with multitasking and keeping thoughts in my head. Okay, sorry, Troy, go ahead.
You asked the question, who's on board with the November 5th. And I must say first and foremost, the danger is, and this includes myself, it's not, throwing shade at anyone, just talking about myself, the fast brain, slow brain. The most important thing is we should have flexible minds, changeable minds, and not be unwilling to revisit, conclusions, etc. Because I was leaning towards July since the last camp meeting. But now hearing you explain it, both yourself and Elder Permindo, and the way he put Quintus Fabius Maximus Gorgias, that symbol that means five for four and foremost, I think it fits, one. And then, convincing me even more, the last point you made about the King of the South being killed, which of course, then that jogged my memory that, yeah, this was after November 5. So yeah, I'm on board with November 5.
Well, then continue through where we're at and be faithful all the way through. Donna, would you like to close us in prayer?
Oh, sure. Dear Lord, righteous and true, thank you for your goodness and mercy upon your people. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day, wonderful Sabbath, this really wonderful time with Elder Parminder, second week in a row. And it's just brainstorming all this stuff. It's pretty amazing. Sometimes it is confusing, like some of us have vocalized. I was a little confused. Troy said he was confused. Kathy, some of us. It was a lot. It was a lot, Lord, and especially when you get older, you just it's just like Elaine said. It's really hard to juggle, and I find that is 100% truth. Uh, we pray, Lord, that you would help us to help us to be able to have these wonderful discussions, that each of us can have a say, that none of us would be persecuted in any way, and that we would work through it and we would come to our own conclusions. Hopefully, we can be unified in the truth. We still have much to work out, and that's a comforting feeling. We know little bits every time, but every time the answer gets a little clearer and a little clearer. And I think that's as much as we can take. And I know that you know what we can handle. And that's about it for now, especially for today. Thank you, Lord, for being so merciful, for being such a wonderful God. Thank you for the mercy that what you showed us, what you showed the world when you first introduced Donald Trump and who he was, and your mercy and your grace showed the whole world everything. And now, at the second time, we understand that judgment is coming and judgment is just. And we understand that there may be lots of heartaches to come. There will be persecution for people, and it will cause harm. It will cause much harm to families, maybe even our families. And help us to persevere, Lord. Help us to be a source of strength to whoever we can comfort. But let us stand firm on everything you have brought us through. I know in my own heart, as well as I speak for Renee, that we know that Sunday law was November 5th. Just by external events, the shock, the awe, the surprise, it was cataclysmic. This is not by chance. This is of you, and we know it. I feel it. I see it. The lines were confirmed. Thank you for giving us that confirmation. Thank you for giving us this methodology that I never truly understood. And I must admit, I never truly understood until until November 5th. And so I thank you for that. I thank you that you're giving me more understanding, myself and Renee, and I'm sure others. It's been a hard, long struggle, both mentally, physically, emotionally. And I pray for those who are struggling. I pray for Kathy. It's good to hear her voice. It's good to have her input. She is so precious and so wise, and she has so much to offer. And I hope that she continues to participate and just to be able to hear her voice. I pray for Fel and Logina's mother and where she's at. And I pray that you would be with them in their time of healing and comfort of where they're at with the possible loss of Logina's mother. And I pray that you would just give them comfort and peace, Lord, at a time that is very difficult, especially when you have a love for your family members. And that's something I have not yet understood. Thank you, Lord, for your mercy and your grace. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Sweet and true.